one question we ask is, well, what was the cost of a bad hire? The last hire that you fired, what did that cost you? And then it could be anywhere from $20,000 to $500,000. And then my question is, what budget did that come from? It's like, there is no budget, and so that's just short-sightedness. But some people have to live through a few of those to say, okay, now I'm ready to do it right.
Welcome back, everyone, to Unleashed. We get another behind-the-scenes look into a real business growing in this day and age in a really interesting industry. With me today is Jorge Chavez from Topaz Sales Consulting. Welcome, George.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm also looking forward to our conversation.
Fabulous. Well, George, we're all super curious about the business you're building, what it looks like. Can you give us a run through of what your business looks like?
Sure. The name of our business, Topaz Sales Consulting, we put sales consulting in the title because that's our lane. We're experts in one area, and it's building and growing and helping companies build a scalable sales organization. And so that's what our business does. At a really high level, we transform how people perceive, value, hire, and train salespeople. So most of us, including me, don't like salespeople. They're traditional salespeople. The show up, throw up, convince, sell, tell, put pressure on, trying to get a yes, trying to close a sale. Time waster, convince-aholic. We feel all this pressure. We don't like that. So Topaz exists. We're the antithesis of that. Almost everything they would do, tell, pitch, educate, make assumptions, we would say, ask questions, listen, be present, don't make assumptions. So we believe we need to exist because buyers would value that more. And so that's really at the heart of our purpose. And what are we building? We're just like any other business out there, many. It starts with, you have a founder who figures stuff out and does something well and the market likes it. And they think, oh, I've got something really real here. We're building a great business for a greater purpose. It's our why. This is bigger than Jorge Chavez. I get it and I love it. But the reason we're bringing people on is because we're putting systems and processes in and people to grow and scale beyond our time. I hope it goes for another generation or two. And so we're building that out just like any other business would. And it just happens to be our core expertise happens to be in the domain of sales, which we love.
I love it for a few reasons. I think you and I have chatted a little bit kind of off recording about legacy being a value and leaving something behind and building something that is beyond you as an individual. And I think when you think about that business owner who wants to build a legacy, they don't want to pitch and, pitch slap and force sales down people. They want to build relationships and build something of value that people enjoy working with and connect with. And I think you're kind of serving individuals with exactly what you would want from your business as well.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, the way you just described it, most owners would sell the way we talk about building trust with other people. When they're meeting with clients, they're not pushing their products or services. They actually are trying to they're curious, like, hey, what problems are you solving? Because see, in their mind, they're building systems, processes, tools to solve those problems. So the owner's like, what are you working on? Because then they incorporate those ideas and those problems into their product offerings. So they lean into that, and they're also busy. They've got so much going on. So they're with their clients or their prospects and they're having those good conversations, but man, they have no time to waste. So because they're busy, if it's not a good mutual fit, they're looking for reasons it doesn't make sense to invest time. So they'll part ways in a trusting way and move on. So that's exactly how we train people to sell. Well, buyers already think that way. Owners think that way because they're so busy and they're very interested. But man, when you start hiring and the common prevailing thinking in sales, which I think a lot of books out there are kind of toxic and hurting us, which is like going for the yes, overcoming objections. Let's get more books on just how to be present and to listen and stop forcing people into decisions they may not be ready for. Just build a relationship, have a conversation. So, and that's what we train on. I wish more books were written on that. Owners love it. Now, how to hire people that do things they do naturally and passionately is a gap. Well, how do I find people like me so that they'll sell the same way. And that's a challenge that they are trying to solve. And if they want to grow and scale, that's one of the problems that we help them solve.
And that owner is our listener. It's also us, right? We're
It's
all
us,
owner
man.
operators in the conversation now. And I'd love to kind of step back too and take a look at how you started the business, how long it's been, how you've grown, what that journey has looked like for you in growing Topaz Sales Consulting.
Yeah, for sure. I've been in sales. Actually, interesting. I started out, I grew up in a small little town, blue collar town in Upper Michigan, factories, building cars and pistons and all that kind of stuff. And so, but I just had this desire to go to college and I really enjoyed computers. So I went to a technology college up in Upper Michigan on Lake Superior. It snows a lot. And I got an MIS degree. But when I was interviewing, and I interviewed with some really good companies, I remember interviewing with Ford Motor Company, and it was for programming. And they're like, "Why are you interviewing for programming? You should be in sales." I'm like, "I just got a degree in MIS, Management Information Systems." I'm like, "Come on!" But anyway. But I got a job with Chevron, the oil and gas company, in programming. I was there for 4 months and I'm looking around and I'm like, this is not my peer group. I want to be in boardrooms selling. So I got a master's in marketing and finance, and then I got a job at IBM in sales. So I always had it in my heart. I always loved it. And so I spent 13 years in high tech with IBM and Adobe selling to Apple and Microsoft. So I have a lot of corporate sales, a lot of training. And then the last 25 years, I've been a business owner and really executing the things that we do today. For a period of time, I just did sales consulting as an independent consultant for about 5 years, just teaching people to build owners, the listeners, to build these world-class sales teams, hire right, sell more, responsibly lead high-performing teams. But I just had folks share, like, I got it and I could articulate it and I could help people, but I got this strong feeling this is bigger than me. Like, how come I got it? And what is our purpose? And 11 years ago, we created a business, Topaz. We started the business and it was to build a great business for a greater purpose. And it's doing the same things, but it's now building systems and processes so that we can have other people do it. And that's kind of, so it's always been sales, a lot of corporate sales, and then as a business owner doing sales. And then for the last 15 years, it's helping other company business owners do sales. But now we're building it in a scalable way because I'm not going to be here forever. So how can we keep helping people? Well, we got to equip that next generation, and there's lots of steps that happen for that to happen.
Yeah, and it's an interesting inflection point. You mentioned too there that, okay, I'm the doer, I'm the consultant, I'm the core service delivery person, and many businesses are started that way, where an individual has a skill set and they go, right. This is my thing, I'm going to do it. But you get to a point where, and it's different for everyone, but usually it's like, I only have so much time, I'm only serving so many clients, I'd like to have a bigger impact, and frankly, I don't want to work so much.
Yeah.
Right. So how do I make this transition? So that's one. But then as you grow, what got you here won't get you there. And so there's this shift that you have to make as you bring people on and being able to create those systems and that scalability in your business. So it's not you to the next people, it's you to the systems to the next people as well. And you have an interesting transition you're going through right now as well, in terms of kind of where you're going and your shift within the business and how that's laying out. I'd love for the listeners to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, I want to highlight, so as you're describing that, so an owner, there's certain passions they have and there's certain talents they have. There's a book called The E-Myth, the entrepreneurial myth, right? So the cake maker builds great cakes and then decides, I'm going to make a cake business, and realizes most of their time is spent not building cakes. Well, somebody has to help you with skills and gifts to build those systems and processes in. Now, similarly, right? So my wife is a co-founder. So I'm very much passionate about the teaching people how to sell more and responsibly lead and hire better. And I love people. I start at early in the morning. I could be talking with people for 8 hours straight, and I leave my day energized, more energy than I started. I love it all, right? My wife, the day she doesn't have to interact with people is a good day, but it documents systems, processes. She just figures this stuff out, takes everything in my head and puts it in the process and using tools and all. So that had to be the start. Somebody has to document all that. And while the owner is doing whatever they do, it might have to be the owner, but sometimes the owner doesn't have those skills. So someone has to do it. To your point now, we've been doing that for 11 years. I think we've gotten as far as we can without other people helping us. And we have 2 sons in the business that are align with our purpose and why we do what we do. So our culture and purpose will carry forward. And they're also skilled at putting these processes in place and executing so we can hire and bring other, the next generation of people to do it. And so it's sort of evolving, but that wing person, that someone else to help the owner, there's only so many hours in the day and there's only so many gifts and talents that we have. And just acknowledging it might be someone else. I wish I could say, I don't, one of my goals is to work less. I've been putting in some long weeks for a lot of years. But to do the transition, I don't know if you can work less doing the transition. You might even do a little bit more until you can work less. And we're kind of in that mode right now. We're trying to, what can I take off my plate? What should I be doing so we can grow and scale? It's an ongoing conversation. I can't say we perfected it, but we're certainly working on it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a transition, right? It's not a flip a switch and you're out. Yeah. There's phases, and depending on the size and scale of your business, it's going to adapt, but it's not an overnight thing where you're just like, all right, I'm stepping out. Good luck. There's a lot of hand holding and training and supporting and guiding along the way on both sides. The one thing I think is really interesting is talking to another couplepreneur. So I co-founded my company with my husband. Yeah, I know. A friend of mine mentioned couplepreneur, and I was like, I'm stealing that. Thank you.
I love it. I'm going to steal it too. A couplepreneur. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, you named it perfectly. But my husband and I, we co-founded together, and I am like you. I am the extrovert. I will talk to people all day and love it and feel energized by it. It's my favorite thing. Like, get me in a group of people and we're happy. My husband, on the other hand, he's an extrovert, but he needs his solitude and his time and his quiet and to be aside. And so he tackles a lot of the behind the scenes stuff and doesn't necessarily get into day to day. And I think there's this kind of beautiful overlap when you have 2 people, similar values, similar mission aligned, but you can complement each other and fill in the gaps for each other as you're building. It does add some layers of complexity with your relationship, but I think when you have the right partner and the right business, it can just be kind of a beautiful thing, an extension of your life, just like a kid would.
It's everything you said is so true. It does bring complexities and it's not for everyone. So I've been in business owner peer advisory boards for probably like 20 years. Every month I'm sitting with owners and they're all having these conversations, but it's a circle of trust. They're kind of almost like a board of directors weighing in on one another's business. Some work with their spouse. They're a couplepreneur. Many don't, and many don't for a reason. Now, the ones that do, we talk through the issues, like the complexities, like when do you turn it off? Like when you're calling it a night, you're in bed ready to go to sleep, and suddenly you got this employee issue and you're like, really? 15 hours into it, now we're still talking. Like, when do you turn it off? Like, so you kind of got to work through what you talk about when you talk about it and not let it affect your marriage. You just have to work through it, and it can take a while, and not everybody can get through it. But here's the benefit. This is really powerful, and it has to be, and maybe it's working with family too. You got to have people you can thoroughly trust, like to the nines, right? And who else can you trust than a spouse to do the work, to be there? That's super critical. So the couplepreneurs, it's harder, but the reward is, because I've been in a lot of these stories, business partners that just don't work it out. They're just unequally yoked. They just have different purposes. You just always have that. But when you're married, you have mutual gain, right? Now, our goal now is like we could tap out, sell, and say, okay, we're good. Let's just go to the sunset. But we're still putting in a pretty full amount of time because we want to create something for our kids to have a legacy to continue if they believe in the mission and the purpose and they feel called and want to do this, to set them up for success. That's what but only with a spouse could you want because we both have the same kids, married 32 years. So we both want to see our kids set up for success. That feels great. That's a motivator. And I don't know, being a couplepreneur, there's a benefit. So the hard work, yes, but there's some real benefits on trust, mutual gain, setting kids up for success. And you just got to learn how to manage the conversations and the complexities and even coach each other. Hey, we got to let that go, man. Don't take it so personal.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in constant conversations about how to manage and keep in perspective the many things going on.
Yeah, it's funny. And I find couples who've gone through a lot of transitions already together, you've already done this before because business changes so quickly and so frequently. And sometimes it's the shift in the business that causes partners to split because we don't have the same vision anymore. But when you're a couple and you've gone through life transitions together, whether it's kids, moves, job changes, those sorts of things, you can adapt together pretty seamlessly because you've practiced it. But when you haven't done that, and a lot of people will say, picking a business partner is very similar to marrying someone. It's a partnership and there's commitment and you go through hard times and you have to really trust each other, as you said. So I agree. I think it's a real asset when you can do it right and you have the right partner and the right business. And it is not for everyone. That is for sure.
Yeah, no question about it. And so there's a whole good God story behind picking a partner. So I don't know if you want to ever go in there, but it's an interesting, because you think about it, it's like, how do you pick a partner? You know what I'm saying? It's like, because whether it's a business partner or a lifelong partner. Anyway, so but it really does matter that you have someone that wants to also do the work.
Yeah, it's so true. And you mentioned your son's coming into the business too, and I know that you're actively working to kind of get out of the day-to-day and slowly move your way into being quote unquote rainmaker and allowing kind of the company to grow in that sense too. How's that transition been for you? What are you focused on in order to make that happen right now?
Yeah, so we have 3 sons. 2 of them are now in the business. Our youngest, he's like my mini me, like since age 2, but he started a business when he was 9. He would take people's trash down to the bottom of the street on Tuesday night, bringing it up on Wednesday morning. And he had to go sell his services 9 years old. I helped him. I coached him up, right, on how to go do that. And so we lived in this golf cart community. So we'd be in our golf cart and he'd have his little, clipboard with his services and how much he's going to charge. And he'd go knock on doors, 9 years old, knock on doors. I'm just sitting down at the street and I could watch the conversation. I looked down and some didn't, a couple of them went well, many didn't go well. And so, but coaching him up on how to take a no and how to cold call. Well, he's just this serial entrepreneur who just gets business and gets sales. So at age 9 and 17, he started he did that business, by the way, till he was 17. So for like 8 years, he made more money than his brothers who are like 7 years older. So at any rate, so he started, and when he graduated from high school, we tried to talk him out of joining us. Like, he used to do engagements at 15. He used to cold call and spot check learning, but we tried to talk him out of joining us, thinking, go get some experience. You don't need to work with us. You got lots of other things to do. And he kept like, no, I want to work here. And it's like, no, go to college, do this. He's like, I'm going to Topaz U. People pay you money to learn your stuff. I want to just learn it and not have to pay you, and just pay me to learn your stuff. And then I want to help you grow. And he kept coming back. And he's like our Swiss Army knife. Like, the job description we started with looks nothing like what he does. We founded his gifts, his talents. He brought value, and it's 5 years later, and he's helping us hire. He's just he's so good. So that's the youngest. The oldest was a client for about 6 years with different companies. He went through all of our training as a client. He actually was a user of our services. And then just through life, an opportunity came where some of our friends, he was searching for something different. And some of our friends said, well, why don't you work with your dad and your mom? I mean, they totally could benefit from your skill set. So last December, he joined us, and he's really a critical piece. So he's got great expertise from using our products and services. He loves our mission, and he has a unique set of selling and finance background and systems and processes background where he's really the guy he's got the right kind of services to help us grow and scale. And I've been looking for that person for a while, but he wasn't available. God just wanted him to be there, and we kind of had to hang tight, do the work. But now we're in a really good spot, having our two sons who love what we do, and we're just taking it one day at a time.
Yep.
Working together.
Yep.
We're having fun.
That's beautiful. I love that. I think it's funny how life happens, right? It hits you. And it comes in different ways. And sometimes you're like, why is it taking so long to find this person or to do this thing? And then all of a sudden it happens. You're like, oh, I had to learn these lessons or this had to happen. And it just kind of lays itself before you in pretty interesting ways. That's for sure.
I'm going to plant the seed. If our middle son's listening to this, I'll plant the seed. We're trying to figure out how to get him in too. So we haven't found that perfect timing and role. So, but anyway, would love to have all of them because they're all amazing, and I think they could all bring value. It's at the right time.
Yep. Yeah. It all works itself out somehow, for sure. For sure. So now, as you're kind of making this transition, looking to the future, building for impact, bringing your sons up into the business, what are you most focused on, knowing that there's so much change going on in the industry? There's AI and technology. People are saying AI is going to take over sales. Like, where are you placing your bets in your own business over the next kind of 10 years or so?
Well, you have to embrace AI to the best of your ability. So we're heavily investing, exploring, and utilizing tools. One thing that has become very plain to me, at least for the next 1 to maybe 3 years, because I don't think any of us can look past that with what AI is going to do to all of our lives. So, but looking forward, a lot of people are using AI to prepare for conversations. Who am I meeting with? You can use any of those tools to come up with who am I meeting with, who's their competition, what's their background, what's their executive team, what are their challenges, blah, blah, blah. What questions should I ask? We encourage people, we have tools to help people get that background to pre-call plan. But now you have to be present. You have to build a relationship. You have to have a conversation, and you need to intelligently know how to bring those questions up at the right time. And more importantly, how to develop questions on the fly based on what people are saying. And that today is not, you can't, and maybe this will change down the road, but you can't say, hey, ChatGPT, what should I say to this question? And, it doesn't know what the person, their eyes and their body language and their tonality and what happened before. So you got to be present. So today our business is built around helping people be present. We use AI to prepare, but then it's listening, asking questions, not making assumptions, staying detached from the outcomes, seeking the truth, accepting it might not be a good mutual fit. That stuff, we help people get the right mindset and belief system and understanding of why they're meeting and how to conduct the conversation, and then to be present real time to come up with questions. So we're leveraging AI to the maximum that we can today. But our business hasn't changed, and we're working with people on what lives between the ears, right? Teaching them how to have those conversations. Looking forward, man, I don't know. I think it's quite interesting. When AI replaces all conversations in sales, I would think this would happen. When you have a therapist that's an AI agent, sales is in trouble. Because in a lot of ways, salespeople are therapists. We want to hear the problems, the issues, the pains, what you're doing about it. It's like, we should go to our customers and just say, pull up the couch, lay down, let's have a conversation. That's really what salespeople do if they're good. If an AI agent can do that and really help people, they could probably sell, and maybe that day will come and we'll adapt some other method then. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out.
I mean, and it's interesting because you'll hear people saying that that's the path, and then there's people who are like, no, like, we're a human world, human will always win. And I think it's going to be some gray area in between. But
can I comment on that?
Yeah, of course.
I think there's 2 examples that kind of really shatter that, where we thought that, but it's no longer the case. The first one was ATMs. When were we ever going to not get money from a banker? Face to face. ATMs and B of A, I think they were the last ones to adopt. Others tried it first and found people liked the convenience of money.
Yeah.
And they didn't need to talk to somebody to withdraw money or deposit money. So I think that shattered that need for a person. The second was purchasing insurance. Now I owned an Allstate insurance agency, and the agents, they had like 17,000 agents. And there was a thought that, everybody needed their agent to make an informed decision. Well, then Esurance options came up and every company started developing those. Now I actually still shiver a bit about people trying to purchase insurance, because even a layperson, how do you know what each of those coverages are and how much you need? I think the conversation is critical, but let's say you already know. People buy products, health insurance, life insurance, long-term care insurance, disability insurance, based on what they need. They buy it without talking to anyone. And we thought that was a very protected relationship. So I think we're a human relationship world, but how it relates to sales, I don't know at what point. A lot of e-commerce happens. Look at Amazon. So I guess it depends on the product or service.
Well, and I think there's kind of a hybrid too, because if you think of the ATM example, there's still bankers in banks for specific jobs and roles, right? So it's shifted. And I think of even like the self-checkouts, right? Those were a massive failure, and you have to have both. You can't necessarily do all. Yes, you can scale down and you'll have specialized people who do things, but I don't think it's going to be this like swap, this full black and white swap.
You make a great point. I think you're spot on. Maybe it won't go away. It may just adapt to certain industries where it's the most valuable. We'll continue to have salespeople, and where it's less valuable or transactional, they'll have other ways.
Yep. Yeah. I think of this example from IKEA recently that I read. And so don't kill me if I get this wrong, because I just recently read it. So I'm going off memory here. But so IKEA's customer service division, they were bringing in AI basically to replace that. And it was like 18,000 employees to come in and take over that role because they had AI and it could do it. But instead of letting go of those 18,000 employees, they shifted them into a new role, trained them in interior design, AI enabled, and built up another $1 billion arm to their business instead.
Yeah.
And so I think there's these opportunities. I think the businesses that are going to miss out are the ones who do the black and white switch. We're going to lay off all these people and put in AI. The businesses that think differently, that find hybrids and ways to leverage AI in the lower, more transactional areas and keep specialized good people where they need to. I think that's at least what I would say my opinion is, where we're going to see the best bets made over the next decade.
I fully agree. I think so. Finding high performers, people you can trust, high potential, high performers that you never want to lose them. So repurposing them, if they are a great culture fit and you have trust, it makes a lot of sense. And I think to your point, like staying open-minded, really that book, Good to Great, what got us here isn't going to get us to where we want to go. Keep that open mind. And honestly, it's probably continuously assessing. It's like your SWOT analysis. Where are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? And figure, knowing it's continuously changing. And so you want to keep an open mind and you want to keep your greatest people because they're so hard to find, and then see it as opportunity. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And how fun. I think if you're an owner, this is the fun part of it, is creating and figuring this out and then doing things no one else has done before. It's pretty fun.
Well, and to that point, I would say right now we're seeing a bit of a fixation or a focus on these fast growth tech companies who are scaling up really rapidly. They're very transactional. It's go, go, go. Not every business is like that. And I think it's kind of a mistake to compare ourselves to that, thinking, well, I need to be more agile. I need to throw in AI. I need to be faster. When like a business like yours or like mine, for example, it's okay to have a little bit slower, more sustainable growth, to pull things out, to build intentionally. We're not all going to fit in the same box and grow the same way. So it's about creating leverage in a way that makes sense for you and your business.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And actually, that's where it gets super personal on purpose. I believe this: if you're not growing, you're dying. Now, let's talk about soccer. And I didn't watch the game, but it was
hard to.
Well, it was Argentina just played. England. Argentina just played. Who did they play in the semis?
England.
England. Okay. England got a lead and they were up by 1 and they tried to sit on their lead. And I'm not picking sides. This is just a strategy. It was a defensive position. I think we have to stay in the offensive all the time. And so
100%.
that's the mindset. If you're not growing, you're dying. You can't stay still or you're going to lose ground. It's like putting money in the ground and then inflation's going to kill you. So you have to grow, but don't let the world dictate growth. That's where it gets personal. Meet with your leadership team. What's right for you? What's right for your industry? Not just to pick numbers to say you did, but something meaningful goals that you're willing to get behind and sacrifice to get there. And I agree with you. So it's so personal.
Yeah.
But man, you got to really then not let the world dictate. Like people have that whole mindset of FOMO. The world can't dictate. If you don't grow 40%, you're not in the Inc. 5000, you're terrible and you're a loser and you're not successful. That's just a lie. And you got to really shut yourself off to that and say, as long as you're profitable, you're running an ethical business with people you trust, and you're earning enough to achieve your goals. Kudos, man. You're doing awesome.
Yeah. 100% agree. Yeah. It's wild. I think one of the things that I'll briefly segue into one of the things that we talk about a lot with business owners at the outset is that clarity. And you mentioned purpose. And one of the things we do with a lot of business owners who are trying to figure it out as they go is we start with 4 simple questions: who you are, what you do, why you do it, and where you're going. And if you're really clear on those 4, everything else just seems to fit into place really naturally. And those things will adapt over time, right? Like who we are when we first start a business to where we see it going 10 years in, not going to be the same, but having that clear and staying aligned to it and refocusing on it, I think is a huge thing that many business owners could benefit from. Now,
I think those are critical. And the why you do it, there's that book, Simon Sinek, Start With Why.
Start with why.
And what we encourage people to do is with passion, share their why. I believe the why sets you apart from every other individual who does the same thing. People don't buy what you do, but why you do it. And so when we can share our why, that means you know your why, though. I think that's a very important question. And why can really change who you hire, how you train them, and what they do every day. And so I think that's such an important question. And if you can figure that out, man, you're ahead of the game there.
Totally agree. Now, I want to come back to high performers because you've mentioned a few times about finding those high performers, upskilling your sons and getting them up and bringing in the right people. And I'm curious for you, what's your perspective on finding the right people and developing the right people? Because one of the things I think that I'm seeing a lot is people are expecting to just pluck unicorns and not have to really develop them or invest in them and just like, you should be good at this job. I'm just going to pick the best. And that, regardless of if they're best or not, there's still development that needs to happen. So what's your perspective on finding the right people and developing the right people so that you can continue to grow in a way aligned with your why and purpose?
Yeah, for sure. So many people want that unicorn. And I got to tell you, a lot of folks will call us and just say, oh, I found the perfect one, and they're not. But so here's what's super critical. It all starts with a job description. We have to know what our unicorn looks like or what a high performer looks like. We have to document what their role or roles are, what their responsibilities are, what we have for goals and expectations. And then there has to be a screening process. How do they make sure the people they're talking to have those things? And it can't just be a skills match. There has to be a culture fit match because they may have all the skills in the world, but be toxic to your culture. It's a no. So it has to be a culture match and a skills match. And to your point, everyone needs development. No one's going to be perfect. So the screening process has to get to the truth of their abilities. What are you getting? So as much clarity about their real skill set has to be learned in the hiring process. And then whatever their gaps are, your onboarding process has to be designed to close those gaps. And
Yes.
so that's the way to do it. We have a program called MetaHire where we train companies on how to do that for salespeople, but it's really bigger than just sales. It's for high performers. And a lot of our clients use it for sales, but then they use it for other parts of their business, follow the same process, because we really seek high performers. And it's the true skill set and a true culture fit. And then it's the onboarding is the gap closing. Do you have a training program? Because they're all going to have them. And if you think you're going to be able to hire and then let them go, that's not great leadership. I mean, that doesn't happen very often. In fact, it usually backfires.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned this at the start, right? When you're making that transition, bringing someone in to take on roles and responsibilities is sometimes your workload increases for a bit, right? There's additional things, supporting, documenting, sharing, guiding, developing this person. Eventually that person grows into the role. And that's,
Yes.
I think, a transition a lot of people underestimate and undervalue or try to skip and kind of get ahead, but it ends up biting them in the end.
It does, and it's costly. In advance, it's like that ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. A lot of folks don't invest on the pre-hire work. They say, oh, I don't have a budget, but they'll use a recruiter or something. There's a budget there, but I don't have a budget to invest. I don't have time to train my people on how to screen for those, And so then one question we ask is, well, what was the cost of a bad hire? The last hire that you fired, what did that cost you? And then it could be anywhere from $20,000 to $500,000. And then my question is, what budget did that come from? It's like, there is no budget, and so that's just short-sightedness. But some people have to live through a few of those to say, okay, now I'm ready to do it right. But that's really just, hey, you want to save yourself time, figure it out and do it to the best of your ability on the front end. It'll save you a lot of time and heartache on the back end. And that's wise. That would be a good thing. And if they're not willing to invest the time to do it right on the front end, you're doing a disservice to your employees and you're going to have a lot of heartache. And I've lived through the heartache like many have, and it's hard. It is heartache.
It is. It's one of those battle scars that you really it still hurts over time. When you look back at it, you're like, ooh, I still feel that a little bit. But it is important to remember, we don't do this because it's easy, right? We do it for our purpose. And there's, sometimes you got to grind. Sometimes you got to take on extra work. Sometimes you got to help develop somebody who needs more. And that's okay, right? It's all season.
True. If it was easy, anyone could do it.
Exactly.
Right. And so right. Top performers love the hard stuff that no one else can do. I think that's probably why I picked sales. I think partly I needed to pick sales. I just feel I was geared for that, which, I don't think you have to be. But I think it's like golf. Yeah. It's harder than golf. Yeah. Because you're in the people business and people are unpredictable. Well, golf, you don't know what you got. You're hitting over the water. You got all these distractions. It's windy. Who knows what you had for breakfast? Your self-talk. It's hard to be good and consistent in golf. I think sales is right up there because you're in the people business and you got to work through others, and then you're selling to customers and building those relationships, and they're all random. You don't know what their experiences are. So you continuously are adapting. And so that's why it's so important to have a process so you can kind of know how to navigate the adaptation required. But I think because it's challenging, and not everybody can do it, I think that drove me to the sales.
Yeah. And you can't get around doing the reps. No one's going to do your push-ups for you, right? And I think that's part of sales as well. Is the more you do it, the more you learn. And a lot of people think I'm just going to get a person who's good at sales and they're going to rock it. And it's well, you got to get the reps in. That's the name of the game.
You're spot on. Back, just if I could plant this on, we talk about top performers. They are continuous learners and they're not afraid to do the work. They recognize you got to do the work. There's no substitute for experience, and they're continuously learning and improving. Those are the makeups of top performers. We look for people that want that.
And to add on to that, the thing that we see all the time is top performers have different expectations of their leader and their company than lower tier performers. They are expecting that my leader is going to live up to those standards too, that they're going to be constantly learning and adapting and setting me up for success and driving the company forward. They're not going to sit back and watch complacency and be okay with it. And so you get what you give as well. If you expect top performers to come to you, you have to behave and act like one as well.
I couldn't agree more. I think the fastest way, like when we talk with clients, one of the questions we ask is, why would a top performer want to work for your company? And why would a top performer ever leave? And one of the number one reasons top performers leave is because there's a culture of mediocrity. So there's excuse making, and top performers don't like excuses. They put in the time and they want to work with other top performers. And that's it. And so it all starts at the leadership level. So actually, as our leaders and our owners are listening to this, if you find you have a culture of excuse making and mediocrity, look in the mirror. It starts at the top. Here's the good part of it. It's kind of a hard look, but it's usually the owner. They're the main reason. But then it's within them to start changing the culture. They can start deciding to not make excuses. Now it's easier to not take excuses, and they need to set the bar and model what that looks like so others can follow. So it starts with us. We can fix it. We can improve it. That brings hope, I believe.
Totally. I think you have more power than you think you do as a leader.
Yeah.
And I always say like the two, I would say like cracks in a foundation that can take down a business, take down a top performer, are assumptions and excuses. Those two things, if you rely on those, you are in trouble. But it all comes down to leadership modeling. As you said, if you can understand the behaviors you don't want and the behaviors you do want, model the ones you want consistently, that's what you're going to get more of.
Well said. Excuse making and making assumptions. Yeah. So if you want to start your day and be on the path to better success, eliminate those two things. First, working inwardly, I think that's a great starting place. And we all do it, by the way. Well, not necessarily the excuse making, but we sure do make a lot of assumptions.
Oh yeah. It's tough in this day and age. And I think a lot of times we make the excuse of like the unknown, right? Well, I have to assume because there's no way for me to know. And there's a difference between making an assumption and having a hypothesis and testing it.
Yes.
Right.
True. Yeah.
So it's those little nuances that can make a big difference.
Yeah.
Now I want to think about the future and what you see coming down the pipeline. We talked briefly about the challenges with AI and the potential ways sales can go in terms of your business and where you're focused in the future and how you're building for legacy and for your family. Where do you see the future of consulting or the future of sales going, and how are you building for that?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think people can be in business if they're not solving customer problems. It's not I'll build it and they'll come. So our focus 100% is helping our clients thrive. Just be successful beyond their limits or imagination. And so we want to be part of that. And so we're in the problem solving business in the domain of sales. So we never stop validating, understanding where their problems are, where their challenges as things evolve. And we want to be on the side of helping them solve those problems. So everything we've built has been driven by client problems and issues where they perceive and have value that they're willing to pay money for. So that's the model. Any consulting business, you got to be solving client problems or you're never going to exist, and never stop looking at that. For us, one thing that was it took a while to come around to this, but since I built all the stuff that we have, you almost think like, well, you're just trying to replicate George. And it's like, no, we're the Blue Man Group. I want to be the Blue Man Group. So we're not replicating me and what I do. We're replicating the client experience. So there's things I do. Everyone will do them in their own unique style. But if they replicate those things, then they can get the client experience where they're thriving. They love what you do. They want more of more time with you and more of your services, and they'll refer you. That's how we built our business. And so we're looking for people that can replicate the client experience. And Topaz, the last thing I'll say about where are we at? I've concluded Topaz is a system.
Mm-hmm.
It's a system of tools, processes, and people. The people we hire are based on our culture. And everything in Topaz, we're a system that helps our clients thrive, and our people repeat that client experience. Whether I'm doing it or another consultant on our team, our clients have a very similar experience and they're successful. So those are some high level principles of things that we focus on that we believe if we continue doing, we'll be around for 10 more years. Now, exactly what we do may change, but why we do it, I don't think that should change.
Yeah, I love that. It comes down to me, it kind of fills two buckets that we're building as well. Like, I think we're really aligned in this. Is the one is consistent excellence in client delivery, right? Whatever that looks like, it's how do we consistently deliver excellence to them, and then adaptability as well. As much as we want to be consistent and deliver that experience, we have to be adaptable on the how and what it looks like, because problems are going to change. People, things are moving quickly. So how do we balance those two? And it's this kind of interesting inflection back and forth between delivering that excellence and being adaptable to what's coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, those sound wonderful and good. Yeah, that sounds great. So that's kind of where we're headed, and we really hold the future with an open hand. We don't have a it must be. It's really those principles and sticking to our why and greater purpose, and we'll do this as long as it makes sense, as long as we bring value to the market. And if anything shifts and no longer makes sense, we'll probably do something else. But
that's the way it goes. Awesome. George, this has been so fantastic. So for the listeners, if there's one takeaway, one nugget, one piece of advice you'd like to leave them with, what would that be?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if we have owners and they want to grow and build and scale their business, I guess let's end with this. Why are you doing it? Why are you doing it? Like, I would ask you to spend time on your why and your purpose, because if you can get that figured out, it'll never feel like a grind. You'll never work a day in your life, and I would add, to help with that why, don't be afraid of the why. They might not be in the right business or the right role. It's okay. Let it be part of the figuring it out process. Don't put boundaries around trying to explore the why. If you don't have one, maybe there isn't one, but if you can get clarity around that, you can build your culture around that. You can hire people that share your why. And that's how you can get it to go past you. So that would be my recommendation or takeaway.
That is fantastic, timeless advice. And I think we all need that reminder pretty consistently. So thank you for that. George, for anyone who wants to connect and learn more about you and Topaz Sales Consulting, where can they find you?
Yeah, I would recommend we have a really fantastic website. It's topazsalesconsulting.com. And there's a specific tool that we get a lot of kudos on. It's an ebook, if you will. It's our ultimate guide to prospecting. It's like 54 pages. It's a free download, and it's got really relevant, timely things on how to hunt and prospect and fill the top of the funnel through marketing. And then, of course, when you get those appointments, I mean, salespeople can do it, marketing can do it. But certainly once you create engagement, then if they need help with sales, they can certainly reach out to help them there. But that ultimate guide to prospecting, I encourage people, download it, and there will be a lot of value in there.
Awesome. I will put the link to both your website and the download in the description. This has been such a fantastic conversation, George. I loved it. It was just so much fun. Thank you so much for spending time with us and giving us a behind the scenes of what you're building and who you're serving.
Well, very good. I do hope people got value from our time, and I really appreciate your time. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.